weed or vegetable? Well, it's getting late, and we're still out in the garden, which is what usually happens this time of year when we're trying to plant, but we already have some harvests going, and one of those harvests is actually something that we never planted at all, and that's lamb's quarters. Lamb's quarters is a very familiar weed, grows all over North America, I think virtually all over North America, to be honest. However, it's also a very useful vegetable. So this raised garden bed is super lush and overflowing with what most people would just consider weeds. And the principal weed here is the main star attraction of this video, lamb's quarters. Now, this particular bed obviously reseeded itself quite readily. However, we basically let it grow because if we don't eat it, we can feed it to the animals. So letting it grow to this point and then harvesting basically works really well for a kind of a free harvest. So Stephanie is basically, as I'm filming this, picking the plants, hard at work, pulling the plants out because in this particular case we don't want them there, and trying them. Now I'm not a big fan of them raw, I prefer them cooked, but they're alright when they're young.
They don't have a lot of flavor. I mean, they're very similar to spinach. I would use it similar. I bet you I should try and make a spinach salad actually, just to see what it tastes like. But those young ones are quite nice. Once you get to the bigger ones, it's not bad, but it's got a stronger flavor. Still vegetable tasting though. I don't mind it.
So this plant is, as I say, an all too common quote-unquote weed. And I'll be 100% honest, when we practice any kind of tilling, this stuff pops up everywhere. So for us, it's the principal weed. But like we just said, it's kind of a mixed blessing because the plan is, and we've already started this, is to keep harvesting this probably through the summer because as long as they're younger, they stay quite edible. And this plant loves the heat. And freeze it for further use so that we can use it like spinach over the winter months. We'll also, as Stephanie said, try some recipes and whatnot. We do like it in stir fries and that sort of thing. Like anything, it's just finding ways to use it. But this is an easy plant to have in your garden, whether you want it or not.
Sometimes, in all honesty, the best things to have growing in the garden are weeds, or at least vegetables that want to grow like weeds, because we don't have to water this, we don't have to do anything, we don't have to think about seed saving. It's just there.
Now something we've never really tried with this is using the seeds. This is a prolific seed producer, but the seeds are very tiny. It's actually related to quinoa. So what I've heard is it will cross, and there are a few other relatives that are found throughout the countryside as well. But it's a very high protein grain, so we'll see. Maybe we'll try some this year, but simply grown as a green, it's still very valuable. The one thing to keep in mind, very similar to spinach, this plant does tend to accumulate quite a high amount of oxalic acid. So if you eat massive amounts of it, you might not fare so well from it, but using it very similar to a spinach substitute basically, we've never found any sort of issues from it. So here's the haul so far, and this is only Stephanie picking. But it doesn't take long.
Someone's got to do the work.
Well, I'm going to put the camera down and start here in a second. But it doesn't take very long to accumulate a fair bit of this. And we'll take this downstairs and we'll basically show you how we're going to freeze it for later use.
So we are back inside and we're going to weigh our lamb's quarters. Now, can I do this with one hand? Come on, fall properly. Christopher!
What's that?
I need help.
What happened?
I got overambitious. It's not a one-handed job. So let's see how much it weighs. As you put it all over the So as Chris mentioned outside, we're going to freeze part of this, and some of it's going to go into a lamb curry for tonight.
Lamb's quarters in a lamb curry.
Yeah, doesn't get much better than that. 200 grams, so almost a half a pound of lamb's quarters. And the nice thing about this is really that was no effort whatsoever.
Just picking it.
Just picking it. So, we're going to show you now what we do with it.
We are now back down in the deep dark basement. And really this is very simple. We're just going to take the leaves, spread them on this sheet. We did put parchment paper on just so they didn't stick, because obviously they're not as thick as peppers and whatnot. But it's been working really well. We just lay them out on a pretty thin layer on this, put them in the freezer, wait till they're frozen, and then bag them up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get these set out, and then I'll show you what we've collected so far. So there's today's haul all laid out. The nice part of it is kind of roughly what we just collected today. If you do that every couple of days, you'll build up quite a stockpile. When I come to the freezer, essentially this is what we've collected so far. And while it doesn't look like a lot, we're still preserving some fairly highly nutritious, pretty much completely free minus the time to pick it, vegetables for winter use.
Again, we are eating late at night. This is kind of a textbook thing in this time of year for us. So this is just a quick meal thrown together, but we thought we would show you using some of these lamb's quarters. We're making a curry. Got some onions, mushrooms, basically probably about a cup of lamb's quarters. I don't do anything with them really. I wash them, I don't chop them up. You want them chopped up? Yeah. We just throw them in there basically like the spinach. Great and easy.
We do like cooking them ahead rather than eating them raw, but they are completely edible raw.
And we're going to, as soon as this gets going, we're going to throw some already cooked lamb in there. And working out of the pantry, homemade curry, and an August stew is going to go in here as well, just to give us a few more veggies. But just a quick example of the simple way you can use lamb's quarters.
So on that note, while dinner's cooking, maybe you can't eat the grass, but you definitely can eat the weeds. And lamb's quarters is definitely, I don't know, a superfood in terms of edible weeds. Readily available, easy to harvest, and absolutely maintenance free and impossible not to grow.
And the more you pull it out, the more it grows back.
Pretty much. So on that note, you can look at weeds a little differently and give it a try if you have it in your garden.